Good morning, first year English literature students. This lecture is meant for BA Part 1 English literature students, and I'll be dealing with your first paper and William Shakespeare's sonnet Remembrance. Students, first of all, I've already given you the introduction of William Shakespeare, and today I'll be starting with Remembrance, introduction to the Remembrance. Remembrance is sonnet number 30. It's one of the 154 sonnets written by the English poet and playwright William Shakespeare. It was published in the quarto in 1609. It is also part of the Fair Youth portion of the Shakespeare's sonnet collection, where he writes about his affection for an unknown young man. While it is not known exactly when Sonnet 30 was written, between 1595 and 1600, it is written in Shakespearean form, comprising 14 lines of iambic pentameter divided into three quatrains and a couplet. Within the sonnet, the narrator spends time remembering and reflecting on himself and sad memories of his dear friend. He grieves of his own shortcomings and failures while also remembering happier memories. The narrator is using here the legal metaphors throughout the sonnet to describe the sadness that he feels as he reflects on his life. Then in the final couplet, the narrator changes his tone about the failures as if the losses are now merely gains for himself. So, what we will be realizing through this sonnet is that. The poet starts with a very sad note, but he ends in an affirmative tone, and there is what lot of optimism when he ends the particular sonnet. So again, it is written in 14 lines. The first 8 lines are the octave, and the remaining 6 lines are sestet, and in the first 8 lines you have been given the introduction, the main idea, and remaining 6 lines he comes towards the conclusion, and a very optimistic conclusion. So I'll just start relating the particular sonnet. So the opening lines of William Shakespeare's 30th sonnet, it starts to quote, "Went to the sessions of sweet silent thought." Now, this evokes the picture of a man sweetly and silently who is reminiscing, living once again the pleasant or sweet experiences of his past. The situation, however, soon shifts from silence to a sigh and from pleasantries to a lament for projects never completed, desires never fulfilled. As he's a poet, there are so many disappointments in his life, so many dejections, but again, he consoles himself, and there he talks about his what you say disappointments. He also talks about what you say his hopes. The past but burst into the poet's present consciousness. He suffers intense nostalgic pain for the wasted time that can no longer be reclaimed. As you already know, for a writer, who is grieving for his time which is spent, without any fruitful work done, so how painful it is for him. So, again and again, he reminisces, and again, there is nostalgia, there is pain, but then it certainly ends in an optimistic tone. He remembers about his old woes, which are reborn again, excavating a fresh hurt. Now, the second quatrain of the sonnet, it expands this idea, but the pain is heightened as the author thinks of the people who will never again come into his life. This brings brings tears into the eyes as once again the pain of losses relived. The vanished sights lamented are the faces of his friends who have disappeared into death and the emptiness of love that is no more, but also suggested our places, possessions, and wants that can never be re-experienced. So I'll just relate to you the 14 lines of this particular sonnet. I'll just read it out for you. So sonnet 30, as I'll be just reading it out to you. See the first quatrain, went to the sessions of sweet silent thought. See, the poet certainly uses many figures of speech, and here you also find alliteration, sessions of sweet silent thought. I, the first person of the poet, I summon up remembrance of things past. I sigh the lack of many a thing I sought, and with old woes new wail my dear times waste. So because he is a poet, he is certainly he's wailing for his past where he did not do anything fruitful, and that he does in present also. Then can I drown an eye unused to flow for precious friends? Now here he is lamenting about his friends, hid in death's dateless night, and weep afresh love's long since cancelled woo, and mourn the expense of many a vanished sight. Then can I grieve at grievances forgone, and heavily from woo to woo tell over the sad account of fore bemoan moan, which I knew pay, which as if not paid before. So he ends, but if the while I think on thee, dear friend, all losses are restored and sorrows end. So just now I've read the 14 lines of this particular sonnet. Now I will be discussing the third quatrain. You know, the third quatrain adds little new content, but it increases the weight and significance of the poem's central idea. That is the act of remembrance. He recalls his old griefs into the present, where they become as painful in their rebirth as they were the first time they were experienced. Now see the conclusion. After 12 lines of bewailing, after mourning the symptoms of the persona's condition, that is the poet, the final couplet of the sonnet moves abruptly to the solution. Now this is something very remarkable. The cure is carefully the cure is carefully coordinated with the disease. For just as the patient's woes were initiated by remembering the past, so are they dissipated by the thought of his current dear friend, which restores all the lamented losses and ends all the reborn sorrows. Now again I will just read out the last few lines of this particular sonnet. See, he adds in a very affirmative tone. He says, but if the while, after lamenting he says, but if the while I think on thee, O my dear friend, all losses are restored and sorrows end. So, previously he was mourning, but now he says, my all the losses are restored and my sorrows have ended. I don't need to lament and I feel quite hopeful. So I end this particular sonnet here. So tomorrow we will be discussing discussing important question answers relating to this sonnet. Thank you for today. Thank you so much.